Spending the week with the Grand Highlander has been a perfect example at how a well-built and well-thought-out and designed car like this simply gets better the more time you spend in it, because you do daily sort of driving activities and you interact with the vehicle in ways that you didn't really think of on something like a quick test drive. And I don't think there's been a single time throughout the week that I've been turned off by the car. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. This week we're out driving the 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander. For those of you in the know, you know how important this car is for Toyota. For so long, if you wanted something with 7 seats from Toyota with 3 rows, you had 2 options. You could essentially squeeze everything into a Highlander, and the Highlander got bigger and bigger and bigger throughout its generations, but still not a huge car. So you could squeeze everything into a Highlander and barely have any room behind the 3rd row, or you had to step all the way up to a Sequoia, and the Sequoia was much more expensive. It didn't ride nearly as well because it's a big, what they call body-on-frame SUV. It's essentially a truck. It was a Toyota Tundra truck with an SUV body on it. So Toyota needed a car like this for absolutely so long, and they had a lot riding on it too, because there were a ton of people who wanted this size of vehicle, wanted 3 rows, but with actual usable space in the 3rd row and in the trunk area. Toyota has finally given that to us. A lot of things you need to know about the Grand Highlander right off the bat. It's not exactly just a stretched Highlander. It really is a model all in and of itself. I think it looks a little bit more like the Toyota RAV4. If you kind of come up here in the front, it really does look like a larger RAV4, more so than the Highlander does. But I do think it looks good. This paint is called Wind Chill Pearl. There's a few different trims and a few different engines, so let's talk about all of those real quick. The trims, you got XLE, Limited, and Platinum. This is the Limited, so kind of right there in the middle. And I don't think it's the one to get. I really don't. I think an XLE or a Platinum is the way to go, and for 2 different reasons. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video. Because you also have 3 different engine choices. You have a base turbocharged, so keep that straight. You got just the basic turbocharged, that's your cheapest option. And then you have a base hybrid. That's going to get you really good fuel economy. We're talking mid 30 mpg in city driving, highway driving, doesn't matter. You're going to get over 30 miles per gallon, which is really cool for a vehicle this size. And then you've got the top level, which is a turbocharged hybrid engine. That one is what we have in this, and it's really, really powerful and decently efficient too. We actually got 26 mpg on our highway fuel economy test with it. You can check the link below if you want to see a little more, but it's fantastic to drive, so it really adds a premium feel to the car. And we'll talk about which engine I think you should go with as well. Again, just like the trims, I think your best bet is either the hybrid, one of the 2 hybrids. Don't even bother getting the normal one. Yeah, you save a little bit of money, but you'll see that back in fuel economy savings. Let's take a look at some of the key parts of the car before we go for a little drive. Power open tailgate on this Limited model. Some things that really stand out to me. Flat load surface, very flat. So if you're getting something like a stroller or cat food out of the back there, it's going to be really easy to slide it in and out. It is kind of a high load height, but I don't think there's too much they can do to get around that. After all, you do have a battery underneath here for the hybrid electric powertrain. So if you were going with maybe just the turbo model, then you have a little bit of extra underfloor space. I do like that they have a spot right there to put the cargo cover. If you're in an unsafe area, you don't want people peeking in, you can install that cover. Where do you put it? Oh, do you pop these panels out? I think you pop those panels out, which is something I don't want to take on right now. Or maybe you fold these seats, which is something I don't like about this car, is the way those seats fold, and then you can put it right in there. That makes sense. Let's talk about these seats real quick. I'm a 5'10" person with medium length arms, and I have to get my pants dirty, leaning up against the back of the car here, and reach way forward in order to grab this, because it's a manual pull and you really have to pull hard to get this seat all the way back up. If I were a smaller person, I think of my wife Alyssa, who's 5'1". I think not only would she have trouble reaching all the way in there to grab that, but if she's wearing something nice, as she often does for work, she's going to get whatever she's wearing dirty, her dress or pants or skirt or whatever it is, leaning up against that if she had to maneuver that in and out. Not only that, but this one is even harder to get up and down. Oh, down's actually fairly easy, but getting it up, I mean, I'm putting a decent amount of force into pulling that back. So I think Toyota needs to rethink how those get folded. And honestly, for these limited and platinum trims, make them powered. I can't remember if they're powered on the platinum or not. Coming into the back seats, I do wish the door would open a little bit wider. It is pretty wide, but you can see how much we're leaving on the table. If you get more of about a 90-degree opening, which I know is difficult, but it gives you more room to get car seats in and out of. Still can't beat that minivan spec sliding door. But it is pretty easy to get into the third row. Slide that back, you have a step, and then you can get back there. So, you know, why not? Let's go back. Pull this back. It's not all the way back, but if I recline the seat properly, then at 5'10", I have plenty of headroom. I can sit back here. It's not quite as comfortable as something like a full size, something like a Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, which is actually fitting because I do have a Yukon this week as well. But you do have things like USB ports, cup holders, and do we have air vents? Yes, we have air vents as well, and a light. So a good amount of accommodations for even full-size people to sit back here. Coming into the second, you can see we have a captain chair configuration. So really this is a 7-seat configured. You can get an 8-seat configuration as well, but with this captain setup, you've got the center console, gives you grippy places to put devices right here, and then drinks. It's a decent sized water bottle. And then if you want to put something else there, like maybe a cooler or a diaper bag or something, you can pull this out easily. And then you've just got a nice flat surface right there. I think that was clever of the Toyota engineers. You also have air vents up top, so if you got baby in a car seat right here, keep him or her cool. And then you got your rear zone climate back there with some heated seats in this limited trim. And a wall style outlet giving you up to 1500 watts and some USB-Cs. A lot of nifty and well thought out places to put things. I'm a big enthusiast of thing placements. I think that's ever so more important on a car like this. Coming into the front area, like I said, plenty of places to put stuff and some clever bits as well. So you have a nice spot up there in front of the front passenger. They could put a book or some glasses or their phone or whatnot. This center console is pretty nifty. You can open it up and you get a pretty deep well of storage in there. This is a standard size laminated piece of paper, and you can see if I move this center storage bit around, that whole thing fits in there. I mean, that's a pretty good amount of space. And then you've got this little piece that you can kind of use as a tray to help break things up. But what's cool is that you can have this open and still have the driver and passenger elbows be uninterrupted. It's kind of a clever way of thinking of that. This hybrid max powertrain gets these cool bronze accents around. That's pretty nice. And some cup holders. I believe this whole thing comes out, but maybe not. Okay. So just a few different size places to put things, wireless device charging, and a nice symmetry, which I appreciate. Power button here and a USB-C right there to kind of make this symmetry all the way up. Bringing the hybrid powertrain to life, we see our two screens. We've got a 12.3-inch screen in front of us and a 12.3-inch screen right here in the center. I've got breakdowns on that, so if you do want to see how they work or a little bit more about them, check the link in the description. But they work well. I am a fan. In fact, this whole thing just works and drives well. It's been kind of cool having this GMC Yukon at the same time as this car, because this one that we're in right now costs $57,000, which, you know, is not cheap, especially considering that the Grand Highlander starts around $44,000, but also for getting everything that this car can do, tow 5,000 pounds and haul 7 people and have heated and cooled seats and all this nice navigation and everything like that, panoramic sunroof, you're getting a good amount of bang for your buck. In fact, oftentimes Toyotas are kind of more expensive than their competition, and this one really not too bad. And then I look at the GMC Yukon Denali Ultimate that I have parked at home. That one, yeah, can haul people a little bit more comfortably and can tow more and has a little bit more space, but that one costs $100,000. So over $30,000 more than this car. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you all. I prefer driving this around over that Yukon. I mean, this thing, put your foot down, and it is powerful. It really does pull you away. The mixture of the electric aspects of the hybrid powertrain and then just straight up the turbocharged engine. This thing really does have a lot of grunt. Not only that, I'm getting better fuel economy than in the Yukon, and it's a very light and easy car to drive. That's something that's really impressed me with this over the last week I've had it or so, is the steering, the ergonomics of the car, and the way it drives feels very light and car-like. Honestly, from up here, it doesn't feel all that different from driving something like a RAV4. When you drive something like a big, full-sized SUV, it feels like you're lugging this big truck around, and it's a lot less enjoyable. The other thing that's really impressed me in spending the week in the Grand Highlander is the sound. Listen. What I really ought to say is the lack thereof, because this thing is really, really quiet inside, and I'm very impressed. Despite this one even being a pre-production model, it's very quiet in all sorts of driving situations. Spending the week with the Grand Highlander has been a perfect example at how a well-built and well-thought-out and designed car like this simply gets better the more time you spend in it, because you do daily sort of driving activities and you interact with the vehicle in ways that you didn't really think of on something like a quick test drive. And I don't think there's been a single time throughout the week that I've been turned off by the car. I think the closest thing to any sort of complaint that I've had is I have had one or two rough shifts where I kind of go to take off or something and it sort of yanks me back. And again, being a pre-production car, that could be some sort of calibration sort of issue. But whether it was getting into it at the airport, taking it to sports practice, what else did I do with the car? I commuted about an hour away to an event and then an hour back on the highway, did the highway fuel economy test, I did all this filming. Everything has been pleasant in the car. Alyssa commented on how comfortable the seats were. I like that the passenger seat there has up and down adjustment, all powered. I've liked where the wireless device charger is. I've liked having physical controls for my climate. I've liked using the voice controls and the wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The adaptive cruise control and the lane tracing assist works well. All the safety features have come in handy. The blind spot monitoring and the rear cross traffic alert. Toyota needed to do well with this car, and I'm so happy that it's a nice place to be. I mean, if anything, it's missing a little bit of the cool factor, I think, compared to something like a Mazda CX-90, and it doesn't drive as engaging. But I'm not looking for an engaging driving experience out of a car in this segment. I'm just looking for something to get me to point A to point B smoothly and safely and efficiently, and this really does a great job. So before wrapping up, I want to talk about what I said at the beginning with the different engine options and the different specs. I think this is a bargain of a deal in the XLE trim. When you're just getting like maybe the base hybrid powertrain that gets awesome fuel economy, yeah, it's not going to drive super fast, but it's going to be super cheap, and for around town driving, it's going to be totally enough. The fact that you can at least get the 7 or 8 seat platform and you get the safety features and a lot of the technology for well below $50,000, new with warranty and everything like that, the fresh new car smell, I think that's one way to go. I think that's where a lot of people should go with it. But then on the other end of the spectrum, deck it all the way out. If you're going to go for some more of the features, don't stop at this limited trim. Go all the way up to Platinum, because Platinum's giving you a few things that I really like, one of which being the camera rear view mirror. This just has a standard rear view mirror, but the camera rear view mirror is a huge benefit to vehicles that are of this size, especially if you got kids or gear back there. Being able to turn on the camera and see so clearly behind you, that's worth stepping up in my eyes. And then again, if you're going to pay the extra money to get something like the higher trim, consider stepping up to this Hybrid Max powertrain as well, because it makes such a large vehicle like this feel so light on its feet and capable, and still manage to be decently efficient. If you're like sitting in the carpool pickup line waiting to pick up your kids from school and you're kind of stop and go like this, you're going to do it all on electric only, and there's a big benefit to that as well. Not only just for the fuel savings, but being able to kind of be quiet, not having an engine run and make noise and pollute for your kids and everything. It's just, it's a nice way to go. So both ends of the spectrum, that's how I say, if you're going to spend the money, step all the way up, get all the bells and whistles. This Limited is fine, but I think for spending a little bit more to get Platinum, that would be the way to go in one direction. But I would save the money and get an XLE and then save that $10,000 and use the rest on my kids on a vacation or something. Ooh, I just shut the car off, but I want to show you one last feature that's kind of cool. If you bring up the camera system, that comes up automatically in reverse, but you can also bring it up manually with this button here. Bring that up. That shows you all around the car to see if you had any toys or children or animals or anything like that. But then you've got this backup camera, which looks nice, but then also this 360 view, which manages to do almost like an invisible car setup as well. So you can see it's using saved images as I drive to actually show me what would be underneath the car too. So that's kind of clever. I think Toyota did a neat job with that. There it is, a car that Toyota desperately needed to get right. Ooh, it's windy here. And I'm happy to announce that they totally did that. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Grand Highlander, check the links in the description. We've got sound system test and fuel economy and infotainment, all sorts of good coverage. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, 3-row Toyota on.